Welcome back to Movies Explained. Today's film is a biographical crime drama from 2021 titled House of Gucci. The movie begins with Maurizio Gucci completing lunch at a restaurant and heading home on his bike. When Maurizio arrives at his home, a man calls out his name. The story flashes back to 1978, where we meet Patrizia, a secretary at her family's trucking business in Milan. Her life takes a turn when she receives an invitation to a party from her friend Max. At the party, she meets Maurizio, a member of the Gucci family. Patrizia is immediately captivated to Maurizio, with whom she strikes up a connection and begins dancing. Patrizia's interest in Maurizio leads her to follow him to the library the next day, where he sees and recognizes her. They converse, and Maurizio expresses his desire to become a lawyer to Patrizia. After some convincing, Patrizia gets Maurizio to take her out on a date. They spend the day in town sharing food before taking a boat to the lake. They are however being observed by a man named Franco, whose presence foreshadows the complexities and dangers that will emerge in their relationship. Maurizio and Patrizia's relationship takes a serious turn when Maurizio invites her to join him for lunch to meet his father Rodolfo. Rodolfo, however, appears to look down on Patrizia's family business. The subject changes when Rodolfo shares that he used to be an actor and that's how he met Mauricio's mother. Later, Rodolfo reveals to Maurizio that he doesn't trust Patrizia, viewing her as just another gold digger who's after his money. It was Rodolfo who hired Franco to follow them, which is how he learned more about Patrizia's background. Despite Rodolfo's distrust, Maurizio defends Patrizia and declares his love for her. When Rodolfo threatens to leave him out of his will, he decides to leave his family and wealth behind to work for Patrizia's family's business until he can marry her. Mauricio's determination to be with Patrizia leads him to express his love for her to her parents. He starts working at her family's company and finds true fulfillment with his work. Maurizio and Patrizia continue their relationship, getting married shortly after. Mauricio's uncle, Aldo, learns about his nephew's marriage to Patrizia and tries to reconcile the family. He visits Rodolfo to propose expanding the Gucci brand into malls, but Rodolfo rejects the idea. Before leaving, Aldo reminds him to get in touch with Maurizio, or he will end up a lonely old man if he doesn't make amends with him. Later, Aldo contacts Maurizio and Patrizia and invites them to his 70th birthday party. Maurizio is reluctant to go to the party, but after Patrizia persuades him, he agrees to go with her. At the party, they meet Aldo's son Paolo, who wants to become a designer but is discouraged by his father, which leads to a heated argument between them. As they leave the party, Patrizia reveals the wedding gift Aldo gave her, 2 tickets to New York, offering them a chance to travel with him. At night, Patrizia sees a commercial for a psychic named Pina and decides to call her. She asks Pina if she will be successful, to which Pina gives a vague response but also acknowledges Patrizia's ambition for success in all areas of her life. Pina predicts that Patrizia will get everything she desires. The next day, they meet Aldo at his countryside house as his birthday celebrations continue. During the event, he tries to persuade Maurizio and Patrizia to accompany him to New York. In the evening, Patrizia talks to Maurizio and attempts to persuade him to join his family's business. Maurizio is hesitant because he enjoys the calmness of working for Patrizia's family business. Patrizia reveals that she is pregnant and urges him to take the opportunity to bring something new to the family. Eventually, Maurizio agrees to move to New York and the couple move into a lavish new apartment with a stunning view of the city. They start working with Aldo to expand the Gucci brand. In Italy, Paolo visits Rodolfo to show him some of his design ideas. As Paolo presents his designs, Rodolfo instructs him not to share them with anyone else. Paolo believes it is because he does not want his ideas stolen. However, Rodolfo believes that Paolo is an embarrassment and insufficient for success in their business. As Rodolfo leaves, Paolo feels upset and decides to start his own brand. Patrizia and Maurizio have a baby girl. They name her Alessandra, after Mauricio's mother. They visit Rodolfo, who is sick, and share the good news with him. Rodolfo is overjoyed and relieved to learn that the family has a daughter, and he believes that having more women in the family is beneficial to the family business. He also informs Maurizio that he is now in charge of Gucci. Rodolfo dies soon after, and the family attends his funeral. After the funeral, Domenico da Sole, a business partner, meets with Patrizia and Maurizio. He claims that Rodolfo did not sign his certificate, and if Maurizio wants his inheritance, he must pay a 14 billion tax or sell his shares of Gucci. Patrizia does not trust Domenico and tells Maurizio about her suspicions. Patrizia and Pina meet in person, and Pina shares some advice to help Patrizia maintain control of her stake in the family business. Meanwhile, Maurizio and Patrizia arrive in New York and are greeted by Aldo, who shows Maurizio his new office. Later, Patrizia discovers that their housekeeper has a fake Gucci bag from a flea market. She goes to the market and buys more fake bags, which she shows to Maurizio, who doesn't seem bothered by them. Patrizia insults him, calling him a cretin for allowing others to defraud him, which irritates Maurizio. They involve Aldo in the discussion, and he sees an opportunity to make money from the fakes. Patrizia is concerned that this will harm the Gucci brand, but Aldo disregards her concerns because he believes that this is not a game for girls. He goes on to say that he turned Gucci into an empire, not Rodolfo, and Gucci is what he says it is. He reminds them that they'd still be shoveling poop if it wasn't for him. In Milan, 1983, Maurizio meets a designer named Walter at a Versace show. When Maurizio tells Walter that one day he might work for Gucci, he is surprised by Walter's response, in which he informs Maurizio that Gucci is currently a cheap operetta and that no designer in the room would work for Gucci. Upon hearing this, Patrizia informs Maurizio that Aldo and Paolo are stuck in the past and should be removed from the company in order to move forward. Domenico informs Patrizia and Maurizio that Paolo is starting his own fashion line. Patrizia suggests that they should convince Paolo to work with them instead of going against their business. She meets with Paolo alone and flatters him by appealing to his ego. Finally, she persuades Paolo to allow her and Maurizio to distribute his designs under Gucci for a deal. She also attempts to pit Paolo against his father, Aldo. Eventually, Aldo is arrested for tax evasion and sentenced to a year in prison. Paolo worries about any potential legal trouble he may face. However, he organizes a fashion show to showcase his designs, but he receives a cease and desist order, and officials arrive to seize his assets and stop the show, causing guests to leave. Paolo's wife Jenny feels humiliated and continues singing by herself on stage. Paolo confronts Patrizia and Maurizio, accusing them of acting against him. Following an argument, Patrizia informs Paolo that she and Maurizio wish to purchase Paolo's Gucci shares. Later, Maurizio learns that officers have arrived at his residence. He flees on a motorcycle while the agents begin seizing assets from their home. When Patrizia arrives to witness this, she is distraught, believing that Paolo is behind this move. Maurizio crosses the Italian border and ends up at a ski resort where he runs into an old friend, Paola Franchi. Patrizia eventually brings Alessandra up to meet with Maurizio, where Patrizia meets Paola and her friends. While having lunch with them, Patrizia is unhappy with the way Maurizio talks about her in front of other people. Later in their room, they argue because Maurizio believes Patrizia is manipulating him against his family and doesn't seem to trust anyone. He instructs Patrizia to stay away from Gucci before she does any more damage, but Patrizia calls him a coward for not standing up to his family. When they exchange Christmas gifts, Patrizia buys Maurizio a nice present, but he only gives her a Bloomingdale's gift card and tells her to buy whatever she wants, making her upset at the careless gift. Following day, she talks to Paola Franchi and appears to press her for personal information and subtly advising that she keep her distance from her husband. At night, it is evident that Maurizio has fallen out of love with Patrizia and tells her that he is sending her and Alessandra back to Milan. Maurizio begins an affair with Paola and meets with an Iraqi investor Namir Kurder from Investcorp to help him out with the business. On the other hand, Aldo is released from jail and reunites with Paolo, who tells him that he sold his own shares of Gucci, which makes Aldo angry. They meet with Namir to negotiate a deal for Aldo to sell his shares, but after learning that Maurizio is involved with Namir, Aldo calls him a traitor. Despite his tears, Aldo signs the contract. Domenico informs Patrizia that Maurizio intends to divorce her and seek shared custody of their daughter Alessandra. Patrizia talks to Pina again and discovers that Maurizio is with another woman. Meanwhile, Maurizio works to bring Gucci back to the top, meeting with top designers like Anna Wintour and Tom Ford, who promise to help him. Patrizia tries to reconcile with Maurizio, but he refuses, and she becomes increasingly unstable, sending threatening voicemails to Maurizio and his romantic partner Paola. Finding no other option than to take revenge, Patrizia and Pina hire two hitmen, Ivano Savioni and Benedetto Cirolo, to find and kill Maurizio. Meanwhile, Maurizio is at a Gucci fashion show which is very successful. After the show, he attends a dinner with Domenico, Tom, Namir, and other investors. They express their interest in buying Mauricio's shares of Gucci for $150 million, which would give Domenico a more controlling stake in the company. Maurizio has the realization that Patrizia was right about him, and in a fit of anger, he throws his dinner plate on the floor and walks out. On the morning of March 27, 1995, Maurizio finishes his lunch and rides his bike home. Ivano and Benedetto, the two hitmen hired by Patrizia and Pina, are waiting for him on the way. When they see him, Benedetto gets out of the car and walks up to Maurizio, calling his name and shooting him 3 times before quickly leaving the scene. Patrizia is waiting to hear the news and writes "Paradise" in her journal when she learns that Maurizio has been killed. She and Alessandra return to Maurizio's house and console Paola, who is devastated by the news. After which, she demands that Paola immediately vacate the premises. The story concludes with Patrizia, Pina, Ivano, and Benedetto standing trial for Maurizio's murder 2 years later. The judge calls Patrizia Signora Reggiani, but Patrizia insists on being called Signora Gucci. They were all found guilty, and Patrizia was sentenced to 29 years in prison, but she was released after serving 18 years. Pina got 25 years, Ivano received 26, and Benedetto was given a life sentence. Aldo died of prostate cancer in 1990, while Paolo died in poverty in London 5 years later. The same year Maurizio was murdered, the Gucci company became publicly listed, with Domenico and Tom leading the company in the 90s. Today, Alessandro Michele and Marco Bizzarri run the company, which is estimated to be worth $60 billion, making it one of the most successful brands. However, no one from the Gucci family currently works for the company. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe for more videos.